In this video, we are going to evaluate piecewise functions and sketch a graph. Let's look at our problem. Here we have a piecewise function, which means we have, in this case, two subfunctions within the main function. We also have constraints that we have to consider. So we want to evaluate the piecewise function. So we have f of x is equal to x if x is greater than or equal to 2, and f of x is equal to 2 if x is less than 2. And we want to find f of 1, f of 2, and f of 3. So let's first evaluate f of 1. So one thing you want to consider is the value that is inside the parentheses is our x value, and f of 1 is our y value. So when we are considering 1, we have to look at our constraints. So we have two constraints. The first one saying x is greater than or equal to 2, and the second constraint says that x is less than 2. So the number 1 is less than 2, therefore we're going to use the second subfunction. So we're going to use f of x is equal to 2. Therefore, f of 1 is equal to 2. Okay? So now let's look at f of 2. Again, let us consider our constraints. So we have x is less than 2, and we also have x is greater than or equal to 2. Well, we're looking at the number 2, right? So 2 is equal to. Therefore, we're going to use the first subfunction. So we're going to use f of x is equal to x, which means that I'm going to plug in my 2 for x, and my output will be 2. Okay? Now, how about we look at f of 3? So we're going to look at f of 3. And let us consider which subfunction that we're going to use. Well, 3 is greater than 2. We can't use the second one because we're looking at all the x values that are less than 2. However, for the first subfunction, we say that any value greater than or equal to 2, we can use the first subfunction. So we're going to use f of x is equal to x, and we're going to plug in f of 3, which gives us 3, okay? Now let's do a quick sketch of the graph. So again, let us look at our constraints. And I want to start first with the second subfunction. So it says that all the values of x that are less than 2, we get a y value that is 2. So here I'm going to put my marker on the number 2, and I'm going to go up 2. Now it says that it's not equal to 2, but it's less than 2. So I'm going to write a circle to indicate that it's not quite equal to 2, okay? And then it says that for any value less than 2, we get 2. So for the value 1, we get 2. For the value 0, we get 2. For the value negative 1, we get 2. And for the value negative 2, we get 2, and so on. So I can go ahead and draw my line out, okay? Like that. And how about we look at the first subfunction? We say that for any value greater than or equal to 2, we get x, okay? For any value of x greater than or equal to 2. So at 2, we get a y value at 2. So I'm going to go ahead and close in the circle. At 3, we get a y value at 3. At 4, we get a y value at 4. At 5, we get a y value at 5, and so on. So I draw my graph out like that. Okay, and that is how you evaluate piecewise functions. Thank you so much for watching, and always remember that you are awesome.